let's get back here. Let's go out and look for food. I'm kind of hungry. From your budding chum's words, it sounds like he himself isn't sure if there's any food in the house. Best to risk it and go outside. You tell him your decision. Top choice, buckaroo. Foraging is how I while away most of the time after all. There's just one small matter to trouble the old brain power. We're venturing out into the unknown yonder. We should obtain some chow for my Lucius as well. He'll be a real grumpy Gustave if he goes too long without his nosh. You draw yourself up proudly. It's taken a lot of bizarre run-ins and harrowing cliches, but you knew all about Lucius's. You inquire about... Gustave, was it? Ho ho, what a card you are. No, my Lucius. I call him the Canary. He whips out a photo. Shows a smaller version of himself, his horns nothing but stubs, a far too big pair of aviator goggles slipping off his nose. Standing behind him is a large white fowl, big scraggly wings folded back beside its body. You want to say an emo? Whatever it is definitely not a canary. Its beak touches the top of your pal's head with something that might count as affection. He is not a persnickety sort. All kinds of bugs and leaves will tickle his fancy. Shall we away? Shall we greet the horizon that rushes forward to meet us with astounding grace? Shall we give ourselves over to the current of time's great river? Sure, you tell him. You can leave the house. It's getting a lot easier to pay attention to only the words this guy says that actually make sense. You kind of enjoy his way of speaking, though. If nothing else, it gives you the feeling that he's really excited about this food quest you're going on together. Your alien pal leads you back down through the pulley system and outside again. The trip is not so easy on your bruised ribs. The thing about walking is, when you walk, your body moves too. You've had better times, is all you're saying. You indicate as much as to your companion. Oh boy, I hear ya. Moving while attached to Alternia's surface is the worst kind of hooey. The moment when autonomous flight is invented trembles ever closer to the present. So they have spaceships, but not planes? I think they skipped over one. Can you hear it approach? The wail of a distant klaxon. The call to adventure. It beckons us forward through the years, a golden thread stretching ever onward to that glorious inevitability. That's not what you meant, but his excitement cheers you up a little bit. Maybe you'll feel better in the future when someone invents flight on this planet. Certainly by the time you'll either be further along in your healing or dead. Either way, thinking about the future brings a rosy little glow to your heart. You ask your buddy where you're going next. The world is a bivalvular sea critter. Oyster. We'll go wherever the wind calls our names. Great. But if it's a short-term answer you're inquiring after, there's a specific plant the canary likes to eat. It's got white petals and leaves as red as a troll's most lurid desires. Could you give a holler if your bulbs fall on something of that persuasion? You agree to keep an eye out. You continue trudging along beside him, wincing whenever your steps jolt your injuries. Maybe a little conversation will help distract you. You ask your new friend what got him so interested in flying in the first place. What could be better? Up there, free of worldly concerns, the wind in your face and the horizon at your back, seeing the continents spread out below you, finally feeling that your personal aesthetic is appropriate for the given circumstances. You chew over this one for a minute or two. Seems like what really makes this guy tick is the travel and adventure thing. Or maybe that's just what you're getting from his general demeanor and pretty much everything he's said up until now. You're nervous to bring up anything that might make him dislike you, but in the interest of bonding, you forge ahead. Aren't there, you say with apprehension, maybe some similarities between flying and space travel? Like, maybe being in a spaceship could satisfy some of these urges? What? There may be some superficial similarities to trick the common troll, but in essence, the blood pusher and soul of each, as different as night and day, as a mountain in a ditch, a star in a mud puddle. Don't get a fellow wrong, space travel is fine. Well, it's the only way to satisfy our bloodthirsty, nearly immortal overlords, and I look forward to such a time where I can be of service in the eternal millstone grind of intergalactic conquest. But it's missing the punch, the pizzazz, the kaboom, the Trump-beast's hunk of it all. Just as you feared, you've stepped on it now. You're struggling for a response when out of the corner of your eye you spot a cluster of white flowers. Relieved, you point them out to your companion, who races over to gather them. But when he holds one up, you can see it has blue leaves, not red. Your shoulders drop. Seems like all you're doing is disappointing your buddy, who's been so nice to you, or at least that's what you've been reading between the lines of his confusing speaking style. Fear not, my smooth-tongued compatriot. These are not the loosest rations we sought, but this plant is people chow. What I mean to say is we can eat it. Since we are people, it's food for people, not food made of people, to be clear. He comes back with a fistful of the flowers and hands you one of the blue leaves. You're not at all sure that food that's safe for your buddy will be safe for you as well, but at this point you don't have much to lose. Besides, with the way your stomach is groaning, it might as well be perfectly seared steak. You put it in your mouth. Chewing on the leaf, you feel even more affectionate towards this guy than before. You were worried this trip was just turning into an excuse for him to run some kind of household errand, but he really did find you something to eat. You're desperate to find some way to show that you understand his interests. You want to connect to him on a deep, soul level. Anything to get him to look at you with that treasured glow of friendship in his eyes. Whenever he mentions space travel, he talks about how it's something that he has to do, some kind of necessary obligation. So maybe there's a reason he's fixated on an activity that is kind of similar, but just a little different. Maybe he doesn't want to do the required thing, the space conquest, but doesn't have it in him to rebel entirely all the way. Maybe airplane flight or whatever similar thing he's envisioning is a compromise between what he has to do and what he wants to do. A balance like all must find in order to live as an individual in a society that shapes one's desires from birth. You cautiously open your mouth, heart pounding. You venture to ask your pal if he would maybe rather not satisfy the demands of the bloodthirsty overlords. Maybe a part of him wants to get into his flying machine and, well, leave. For real. He seems taken aback. Maybe she should have never said it. What a huge mistake. You probably pushed his friendship out of reach for good now. Panicking, you point to the side, yelling that you see a big field of white flowers in that direction. Your potential friend leaps to action, seemingly also glad to be given a reason not to answer this question. He races forward in the direction as you indicated. In a matter of seconds, there's a yelp, and your new acquaintance vanishes. Instantly, you realize your error. You didn't look where you were pointing. While walking, you unwittingly came close to the edge of a large cliff, which your companion has now disappeared over. You race to the side, your stomach flooding with fear. This is absolutely the opposite of what you wanted. You look down in horror. Your friend now looks approximately how you felt when you first crash-landed on this dark planet. He's conscious, his face frozen in shock, but one leg is twisted underneath him in a nasty way. You may not be familiar with his alien anatomy, but you're almost positive that it shouldn't look like that. You call out to him in distress, sure he's going to castigate you for your mistake. The strangeness of his language won't make it hurt any less to lose this guy's trust forever. What ho! Calloo! Calais! His voice floats up from the ground below, weak but somewhat jovial? Is it possible he's not angry? Oh, joy is happening! Oh, delight for the body and spirit! Did you see? Did your being absorbed what occurred before your very visage? Oh, is he gonna say he flew? I flew! I flew! Soared through the air, just for a moment, but it happened! An ecstasy like none I've ever known. You hesitate. Is it really possible that I could be taking this so well? That maybe your big fuck-up was a step in the right direction after all? It's definitely a little worrying to hear him celebrate a dangerous fall, but none of that matters if you can secure his friendship at last. My strange associate, come on down here. We will celebrate in grand fashion this eve. How did you know that a brief sojourn through unfettered air would bring me such joy? You're a fine fellow. A truly superb friend. You're heartless with joy. Hey, said it! Of course you now have to find some way to climb down a cliff with your messed up ribs, not to mention figuring out how to transport someone with a broken leg back to the house. You're not really sure if that's possible, or when the adrenaline that's got you this far will give out and force you to succumb to your own pain. But with a night full of difficulties ahead of you, you couldn't ask for a better balm than knowing you'll face them hand in hand with your friend. Assuming he didn't hurt his hands as well. No matter, you did it! Oh no! That's not a good break. Oh no. Well, that was great. So that is the end of Volume 4. So I think we're going to end this one right here. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked this episode, hit that like button, subscribe, do all the things that you love to support this channel. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye!